Hello? We are live!
We are live!
Yes! Welcome to another
Authorized?
unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with
deep diving. Queen Raae.
You know, I think
The
that's
Nattermob
me.
pirates.
That's me.
Go ahead, Ola.
Sorry about that. I didn't mute it. Okay. With deep diving Queen Raae.
Woohoo!
Paul the Navigator.
Hello.
Ola Vea. And the great and powerful pirate Jason Lengstorf. So something GitHub Actions. Should we just jump into it?
When we had Ward on, he got to say like his title. So
Yes!
do you want
yeah,
to introduce yourself, Jason, with like a sentence?
Absolutely.
You can do that before we jump in.
I'm Jason Lengstorf. I'm the VP of Developer Experience at Netlify, and I'm a big fan of Gatsby, big fan of whatever this show is. I'm really looking forward to it.
And we got a comment. Hello. So, as you all people have been with us for a while, you know, this is chaotic but fun, or hopefully fun. So tonight, the focus, it's in the banner below. We are going to trigger rebuilds of our nattermob.dev site so that we can actually get new data in. And it's pretty, I'm going to share my screen because I didn't plan this, but when I was looking at our nattermob.dev site today, I see that there's a little like question mark, and then there's a quote here because there was a quote character, which shouldn't have been there. So I've actually gone in and changed that in the title, but this is a statically generated site because it's made by Gatsby. So all the sites have been built earlier today when Paul and I were experimenting with stuff. But now it's changed. Like, how can we get it to get the new data and rebuild? And with most of the services we use, with like headless CMSs, they can trigger rebuilds when something's changing. And YouTube could also do that. They can call what's called a webhook over on Gatsby Cloud to ask it to rebuild. But then we would have to pay for YouTube. So we don't want to do that. So the developers that we are today going to ask GitHub here to, on a schedule with a little alarm goes off, little octo cat will then call Gatsby Cloud and say, please rebuild. And the most frequent you can do this is every 15 minutes. So that's what we're going to do today. But for our site overall, we'll probably set it up to like rebuild twice a day. Even though I do change the titles all the time, I don't change them that often. So I think twice a day will be enough when this is all done. But for today, it's going to be 15 minutes. So we're going to get to the coding. Paul is going to show us how to do it. And then we actually have to wait 15 minutes to see if it works.
Sorry about breaking in right away.
Crossed.
Benedicte, yes. How do I get Jason up? I want to be on the bottom.
Yeah,
there.
I was going to fix that. You just grab his head and then you pull it up.
Yeah. No. Okay. Come on. Yes. Oh,
yes. What about me?
Oh no. Yes. That's how I want
So he's
it.
gonna be in. You don't want him underneath Paul? Like I feel like I'm like, where's my navigator? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, like that.
Like that.
Yeah,
and
okay.
also, Jason puts us all to shame with his setup. Like,
yeah.
Paul has gotten his 4K camera, and I am like, I'm still on this whatever camera, 1080. Anyway, let's get in there. So Paul, show me how we can use GitHub Actions to trigger rebuilds so that our site is up to date.
Cool. All right. Well, look, before we do that, we're going to add a little timestamp. We're going to write it in Gatsby Node, and we're going to write a little GraphQL query and just print it out on the index page. This is so that we can actually see on nattermob.dev when it's deployed, when we can see the last time it was built. So,
up here, we're now going to add a little timestamp just to make sure that we actually see that it's been rebuilt, because not every time there will be a change. Like now we also want to see this be removed, but other times we just want that so we can, for this development. Okay. So we want to get into and create something here.
Yep. Gatsby node, and then probably somewhere near the top of source nodes.
Yep.
Maybe let's do it above that YouTube call.
Yep.
And actually, first thing I want to do is just a quick tidy up of the destructured params. So you know where you've got actions.
Yeah.
Destructure create node from that.
Ooh.
It's still part of the actions object.
Like so?
No, it'd be
no, it's like action, sorry.
Yep.
Like
and then
that.
down on line, wherever it is, we've got, there. So remove actions from there.
Okay.
Yep, that's good. All right, sweet. Because we'll be using that again, so it makes sense to destructure. Okay, so first thing is we want to create a timestamp effectively. So const date equals new date. Yeah, a new line, const hours equals date dot get hours.
Get hours. That's a function, right? Yeah.
Yep, and then underneath that, const mins equals date dot get minutes. Do you want me to spell minutes?
I was just gonna say, I'm happy you called that const mins and not minutes. I am the worst speller, Jason. Seconds?
Yeah. Sex,
not
yep.
sex. Let's spell that one out. Seconds. Is it date get seconds?
Yep. And then underneath that, a new constant which we'll call timestamp. And this is going to be a template literal of some strings that will just give us. So if you do a backtick and then if you do H colon.
What? Oh, H colon.
Yeah.
Hour.
And then, yeah. And then dollar open close.
I found a $sign today, which is, I'll be happy.
Hours.
Oh, you got the European keyboard.
Yeah, and then it like switches between languages, and then at a client I'm using a PC, so I'm like super confused. And when I start getting it wrong, I just cancel. One time, Monica had to like private message me a $sign so that I could get it working. Anyway, minutes, I guess.
Yeah, so just do like hours, minutes, seconds.
We call that minutes, and then seconds. Finding it again and again. Okay. There we go.
And then underneath that, let's put a console login for timestamp and whack some slashes or something in just so it doesn't get lost, because we need to have a quick check that it exists in a build step first.
And then you just want the timestamp, right?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Right, that I think will work. So let's just jump straight to the next thing, which will be underneath the console log. We're going to do create node.
All right.
Function and first param is an object.
Yep.
And new line. And then timestamp as a key value pair, or just timestamp if you don't want to key value pair it. And then underneath that will be ID. And this doesn't really matter, so just give it a string of 1, 2, 3.
Let's call it a timestamp.
Okay, if you want. New line.
Gotta be explicit.
Internal, yep. Which is an object. Object. And the first key value pair is going to be type. And that will be a string of built.
Yeah.
And then underneath that, we're going to have content digest.
Oh boy.
And this will be create content digest. And we're going to pass in the timestamp.
Now I'm getting that person who replied that it was a little tedious if you just wanted to like play around with an API to create content nodes. But yeah, go ahead.
Right, that all should be good. If you give us your terminal and do an npm run build.
And should we talk a little bit about why all of that is required?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now Paul's like, we're getting off. Oh. Yes. Please do, Jason. Why is it all required?
So what's happening when you're creating a node is you're basically identifying a piece of content to Gatsby. And for Gatsby to be able to do incremental builds, to manage the caches, to make sure that things don't collide, we have to identify to Gatsby what type of node it is and what the content of that node is. Because, keep in mind, like, we're creating a timestamp. Theoretically speaking, if we run 2 builds in a couple of minutes, or in 1 minute, you're going to have the same timestamp. But theoretically, we would want to create multiple nodes. Or if you have a blog post where you've got the same ID and title.
Yeah, like we're doing here with the here we are creating videos.
Right. And so that content digest is giving you a hash of what's in the node itself, so that when like that lets Gatsby know, did this node actually change? Like, do we need to requery and rebuild, or can we say, oh, we already have this, like, skip it?
Yeah. So I have a question on that node, and you gotta mute yourself if you're gonna laugh that much, Ola.
Oh, sorry.
But,
I'll stop laughing.
So I'm sorry we're derailing, Paul, but I was actually wondering, because YouTube gives back kind of an e-tag, or like its own hash of the content. And I'm guessing that changes if the YouTube content has changed. So I was wondering if we could just use that straight here in the content digest instead of creating our own, or is that not preferred? Do you know?
That's a great question. I think it would work, because I think it's just some kind of unique identifier for the content. And so in this case, it would actually work better, because it would be letting Gatsby know whether the YouTube content changed instead of whether your read of the YouTube content changed.
Yeah, and I was also thinking if that then would speed things up, because I know from other work that this is probably a hash of some sort, and that is like one of the like slower things to do, creating hashes. So if we could skip that, I'm thinking not that this is slow yet, but like I'm thinking that could be helpful in not having to recalculate that every time. So, but that was a thought. We're not doing that now, but but nice to get your input on that. Okay. We got it. I think up here, timestamp.
All right, sweet. So spin up the dev server, and we need to have a look at graphical.
I don't know what I did. I don't know what. I clicked on something. Let's hope it's. There we go. You want us to do the develop?
Yes, please, and open up graphical. I just want to make sure we can query our new node type, which we gave a name of built.
And we're doing all this so that we can use a graphical query in our index page at the end of all of this, I guess. I don't know what is happening. So John is saying modify time format string in a graphical query. I'm not sure what it means there.
To get a nicer looking time, maybe. Which, I think you mentioned that earlier, and I was like, "Don't you dare try and make this nicer. It's largely irrelevant. We just need something.
We just need it to work."
I'm just more concerned about getting to the point where we deploy a GitHub action, because then we have to wait 15 minutes. So the sooner we can get there, the better.
Okay.
And then we can relax.
We can see.
I'll relax.
So after the little break, where Ola will be chatting with Jason, we could do all fun stuff. Then we could try to like make it look better and just like banter around. Like last time, we ended up going like half an hour over time, just like having fun. Okay, so now
you can keep that query if you want. Oh, okay, fine. So it should just be
there
built, and then there should be timestamp. Yep, underneath. There we go. So if you query that, you should get a string. That's fine. Right, let's add that to our index page. So send me to index.js. You can leave the dev server running, actually, because we should be able to see this print out.
Yeah, I think it's running still. It's just that with this big letters, it's so hard.
And then probably up the top somewhere before the all YouTube query. Just do the same again. So it'd be built.
Oh, but can I not just copy paste it? Haven't we learned our lesson?
I mean, you can copy the query if you want.
There we go.
Yep,
Yeah.
fine. Okay, so that should work. And then it's going to get a bit confusing because we didn't destructure that, and it's actually called videos. So down underneath the H1, pop a P tag in.
I think we called it treasure. That's what I'm seeing.
Treasure is videos.alltubes.node.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
So it's going to be videos.built.timestamp.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit confusing. We do need to destructure that properly so we're not creating a
Videos
in curlies.
built in curlies.
Very
I'm
clever
already-
with treasure.map there.
Yeah, that was all Ola. He likes it to be more visual. Videos built
Built.timestamp.
timestamp.
Okay, so that should put a P under our title of
Yeah.
the last time the site was built.
But we could at least just call this then like result or something, or data. So, okay. Do we think our page has there we go. So now we have it here.
Sweet. All right.
Yes.
Good.
So this is all to just check that the rest of the stuff we're doing works, right?
It's just so we can see something when we preview it later and we can check that it did actually build and that's the time it built.
Yeah.
It's not essential, but I think it's just, easier for us to look at the end result than looking through logs. So you can kill the dev server now. We're sort of pretty much done with the Gatsby side of things. Now we can write our GitHub action. So take me to the file explorer in VS Code.
There we go.
And we want a new directory at the root.
Oh, but let's commit
Okay.
it. Check out. Branch. Trigger. Let's just call it trigger so I don't have to spell. There we go. And then add build timestamp. There we go. Okay. Do you commit often, Jason? Are you like an often committer, or do you wait?
I tend to commit like every time I get something working,
Yeah.
so that I have a log of like each like finite step.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what do you want me to do, Paul?
So we need a new directory at the root.
Not in there. Like what? Like I haven't done this in ages. There we go. What do we call it?
It will be .github, all lowercase. And you can actually do a / and we need a workflows directory.
What's the file called?
The file will be called build-me.yml.
.yml. Like this blew my mind the first time I saw it. If I managed to, no, it didn't work. Yes, it does. But that is also a folder. Sorry, because I thought I did that once and it like created the folder, but no, the file, but it actually didn't. Build me. Let's just test for that, and then I need to remove this folder. Sorry about that. Do not be clever on stream. Build me YAML. There we go.
Right.
Ooh.
So this, I'll be full disclosure. I only looked at GitHub Actions this week. So don't ask me too many questions that I don't know. But this works. What we're about to do does work.
But we can ask Jason because he had somebody on. Explain it all to him, I think. Didn't
Yeah,
you have somebody on?
I did. I talked to Brian Douglas, who's on the GitHub Actions, or he's on the GitHub team, and he does a lot of work with GitHub Actions.
Yeah.
I will say, the amount that I retained is questionable, but I'm really good at Google.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see. Like this will be a pop quiz to see if you remember stuff from your own stream.
I hope Brian's not watching. He's going to be so disappointed in me.
And full disclosure, whenever I've done anything like this, and it seems like I do that a lot for other things too. I just copy paste. So we'll see if I manage to actually write this out. And if not, I'll copy paste our cheat sheet. Okay, come on. Let's do this, Paul.
So the first thing we need to do is give it a name. So it's going to be name, colon. And let's call it build site. It doesn't need to be in a string or anything because it's YAML now.
Okay.
And give me a new line. And this is going to be a new line again, just to make it a bit easier to read. And this is going to be on colon, which is one of the GitHub events. So a common one would be like a push. And that's a way for GitHub to kind of link into events that are occurring, but we're not listening out for any events that happen on GitHub. We're just asking GitHub to do something on a schedule, which is the next thing. So new line. And I think indent by 1, we'll know if this is incorrect or not.
No, that's right. YAML is my favorite.
And so this is going to be a schedule event. Do you want me to spell it?
Yes, I do. No, I think I can spell that one. Schedule.
Yeah.
Right.
Colon.
Yeah.
And then new line, indent again.
And is it okay? So now we have 2. So we're one more in. Okay.
So this will be a dash, space, cron.
Cron job.
And then a colon. And then a space. Now this one is a string. And it's the weirdest looking timestamp I've ever seen. I'm going to share a link now in the chat to docs pages, but also what they actually call what do they call it? They call it the POSIX cron syntax, which is not my favorite. But anyway, we're going to go through it and I'll explain it in a minute. So so cron is going to be a string. So give me a space and then open and close single quote marks.
Single ones.
I'm not sure if it matters, but go with single.
Like, where's my single? There they are.
Right. So we need an asterisk.
I mean, an asterisk.
If there's time,
is this asterisk?
Yeah, I'll explain it in a minute. But in that link, it shows you how the time is broken down. But
I think, unfortunately, Paul, though, links in the YouTube chat doesn't work. But we'll put it in the description if people want to look at it afterwards.
Okay. So asterisk /15.
Okay.
So the first entry to the cron job is the minutes. So, and by using the slash, it's a repeater. So it basically says repeat every 15 minutes. The second one is going to be ignore. So star or asterisk, space, asterisk, space, asterisk, space.
How many?
Asterisk. It should be 4 asterisks.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then give me a new line or 2 new lines. And we want to make sure this is indented back at the far left.
Okay.
And then it's going to be jobs, colon.
Yep.
New line.
I'm getting the hang of it now, like colon, new line.
And then this is going to be the name of our job. So call this trigger-build.
Big letters like that?
Yeah, you can do big letters.
Yeah.
And then colon. New line, indent by 1. And this will be runs-on.
Oh my God. Can we just copy paste this?
Colon. And this is going to be Ubuntu latest. So do you want me to spell that? Good.
Latest. Okay.
Okay, new line, but on the same indentation, we're going to have steps, colon, new line, indent by 1, hyphen, space, run, colon.
Oh boy, this is going to take the rest of the stream.
Well,
you know what?
We're almost done. We're almost done.
Okay, we're almost done.
Do you want to copy and paste it? It's up to you. We can talk through it. Maybe
I want to copy paste it because I'm like,
copy and paste
I can't even spell. I ended up like taking up the cheat sheet because this is just too. Whew.
Where are you?
There we go.
From? All right. So I basically let's expand on that.
Oh, but this gave us double indentation. So this might not even work.
So YAML is white space sensitive, so I don't know if it requires a double indent there.
On this one, the steps. Like
Well,
this should be.
so on the like where you've got jobs and trigger builds and runs on.
I think they might need double as well. Why don't you copy and paste the whole thing, Benedict?
I'll copy and paste the whole thing since we'll
talk through it. The thing is, when this isn't formatted correctly, because as soon as you push it, GitHub errors, and I was wanting to peel my own face off when I was testing this thing. I was like, why is this happening?
I think this was the most important part today, though. Like, you need to understand these to like make all kinds of different cron job schedules. So this is a nice 15-minute one, and you can't do 5 minutes. Like 15 minutes is the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what are we doing here? We're saying it runs on Ubuntu latest, and then.
Yeah, I mean that bit was really just me testing, but it's good to see it because it will come out in the actions. But the key bit there is the environment variable. So this is a way to set environment variables in GitHub, and you can add those via settings, secrets in GitHub, and it's kind of the same as you'd expect when you add an environment variable to to Netlify or Gatsby Cloud or something. It's a way to store something, and I think you're pretty safe to review these. We're not going to have a credit card situation on our hands here
that I've done before. So it's down here. It's a repository secret, and I'm the only one who can update and add this since this is a personal repository, but Paul and anyone who is a collaborator can then use it in their actions. So that's a safe way.
The key bit that we're not showing is the value of secrets.gatsby_webhook is the post URL that Gatsby Cloud gives you in the build webhooks, which I don't think we can reveal on stream because then anyone could technically post. But it's basically what Benedicte said at the start. A lot of these headless CMSs or Shopify or whatever, they have events that will trigger changes, and you can post to a webhook in Gatsby Cloud, which will cause it to rebuild, which is what we're doing, but we're triggering it on a timed interval and not on a change.
Yeah. So it's an address over here so that Gatsby knows that it's supposed to do, Gatsby Cloud knows that it's supposed to do something. Okay. And then what does this do?
So that is an open source library, which is basically an HTTP request or a post. You can see I've manually hard coded the method, but that is just a way to essentially send a post request to a URL, but in YAML on GitHub.
Okay.
So it's all of the typical things.
Do you want to say anything more about this, Jason?
No, because that's basically the extent of my knowledge on it. But we're effectively.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Maybe
an HTTP request to a post to a URL, and that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Jason had anything more to say about that.
Well, the idea behind webhooks is just that you're providing a way for a service to get information, and so the general idea is that, like, if you don't have some kind of a subscription service or another way for someone to really tie in, then exposing a webhook infrastructure is basically a way for you to say, okay, you can tell our service to do something by sending a request to this URL. And some of them are really simple. For example, in like if you use it in Netlify, hitting that webhook will cause a build to retrigger. Some of them are more sophisticated where the body that you send can change what happens. So there's varying levels of complexity there. But typically speaking, it's kind of like, if you visit this URL, something will happen. And they use a post so that it's not just something that you can like refresh and cause chaos on the system.
So I know, we're going to run over, but I just wanted to say that I tried, or I wanted to, but my artistic skills are not there. Like, I wanted to make little islands and then them sending like messages to each other with like birds, like like postal doves or something like that. So whenever, whenever this is like a huge production, like we'll pay somebody to make these like super cool animations with little, anyway. Because I always find it hard when I'm talking to people that are not like been developing for a while, like how all these like messages are being sent back and forth between all our different servers. It's, the backbone of the internet, but it's still hard to kind of explain. But it's like sending letters. It just happens a little bit faster in a way. I know that was a tangent. Sorry, Paul. Let's get back
That's
to
all
it.
right. Let's commit and push, because now we've got a big wait. So we've got to wait 15
So,
minutes.
so we could go into my banter.
Yeah, I was going to interrupt, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're doing here, we are sending, or we're like asking Gatsby Cloud to rebuild by sending a little message to their address that they have said is specifically for this purpose.
Yeah, it might be worth mentioning as well, on Gatsby Cloud, you've got two webhooks. You've got the preview and the build webhook. We're using the build webhook. I know you can't see it, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And this basically works the same all over. As you were saying, Jason, like Netlify has this, and I know the different CMSs, headless CMSs have different various webhooks, and also the possibility to call other services webhook so that they can all interact with each other. Okay, so we are pushing, but then we need to also merge the pull request, I guess.
Isn't this on? Oh, you didn't do this on main. You were good.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I was doing good. GitHub pull request PR create.
Do you want me to approve it? Shall I be reviewer? Right, so
please do.
Review it.
Okay, and this, I guess, is a chore. Rebuilds with GitHub Actions, and I don't think I made a issue for this, so we don't have an issue to reference. So, squash and merge. That's the fastest pull request.
Good review.
Good review. Well, see, I've been like moaning about this since we're now going into, we just have to wait. So what we're waiting for now is that GitHub will then wait 15 minutes, and hopefully then that action will happen, or we failed miserably today. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I have actually been quite annoyed with GitHub because I really do want to review my own pull requests. So for my personal projects, I often code, and then the next day I want to review it with a fresh mind, and then I actually want to write I can write comments to myself, but I can't select the request changes because it's my own pull request. So I tweeted this, and it turns out I'm not the only one. There's like several people on the internet that agrees with me that they want to review their own pull requests. So I didn't feel as alone. But GitHub hasn't answered me. Maybe you have some contacts in GitHub that you can get them to give me that feature, Jason.
I do not have that level of authority. No, what I do is I just slide into Brian Douglas's DMs, and I'm like, hey, you want to fix some stuff? And he's like, I can't do that.
Well, I'll make a petition to have it. But go ahead, Ola. It's your break.
Just quickly, sorry to be Mr. Spreadsheets again, but if you click on the actions,
there you see, Jason, the break is already over. I'm sorry. I told you it's going to be quick. Yeah.
If you go onto the actions tab,
that's right.
And GitHub has picked up the name of our workflow there. So build site, remember, was what we called it. So we're going to just sit tight now. What we should see happen in about 15 minutes time is a job appear in there. That's all I'm saying. Over to you. Cheers.
Thanks, Mr. Spreadsheets.
No worries.
Yes. Okay. So, Jason, I will try to remove the screen like that. Yes. Yeah. So, when you were a piratical youngster, you were touring for 2 years in a band van.
That's right.
Yeah?
That's right.
Yeah. And so I wonder if there was one rule that you felt that you rewrote in that time.
Yeah, I think the rule that I ended up rewriting when I was younger is I started out thinking that there was like a proper path, that you're supposed to go one way, and that that's what success is that it's a straight line from point A to point B. And so I had started out, I got through high school and I went off to university, and I said, okay, I'm going to get this degree and then I'm going to get a job. And I just didn't do well in academia. I dropped out after a semester, and I was like, I'm just going to go be a rock star, right? And while I was doing my tour of the US in a van that was also my house, I I was also kind of realizing that there are multiple options here. Like the skills that I learned trying to make that band succeed, that was a college education. I learned negotiation. I learned project management. I learned how to research and make contacts and build relationships with people in completely different areas. I learned advertising and marketing and package design and regular design. I also learned web development, all because of my band. All the things that I do in my day-to-day job now, I started that journey as a musician who couldn't afford to hire help. And so the rule that rewrote for me was, I realized that even if the thing you're doing isn't the thing you'll do forever, it's not wasted time. You're still learning skills that are going to bring you forward and help you accomplish something else down the road. And that Venn diagram that we imagine, if you work in, here's me as a musician and here's me as a web developer, and we might think that those circles don't overlap, but really the only thing that's different about Jason in a band and Jason the web developer is that I don't perform music anymore. The rest of my duties, all the things that I did when I wasn't on stage, a lot of those carried over. I still do a lot of that stuff today.
But you would say, so you talked about a lot about skills.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think that when you were doing it? So this is a skill. I'm negotiating. It's a skill.
Not at all. No. When I was doing it, I was thinking, holy crap, if we don't get this promoter to give us the $100 for gas that they said they were going to and are now trying not to, we live in Topeka now. And so, it was very much like, it was driven by necessity. And a lot of I've also found that everybody learns differently. And I learn by necessity, not by desire. So if I tell myself I'm going to learn X and I don't have a reason, usually what will happen is I'll procrastinate and I'll never do it. But if I agree to a project and learning X is part of that project, I will absolutely learn it. And so one of the things that I learned about myself in that process is that I am perfectly capable of learning anything as long as there's a sense of urgency and it rolls up to a bigger goal for me. So that I had to, it taught me a lot about how I can get myself aligned with goals that I want to accomplish by promising what I know plus 10% of what I want to learn next.
That's so piratical, because so there are different kinds of pirates, but I'm thinking about the golden age pirates, and they it's the same thing that happened to you in a way, because they were basically employed in the British Navy, and there was a war, and then suddenly there was peace, and there was 40,000 sailors that got fired, and they were down there in the Caribbean. And they were like, okay, so how do we get food now? Should we, try maybe growing stuff? No. Let's do something more. What should I say?
Fun.
No, yeah. So they had to do something to make a living, because all those 40,000, yes, some of them got jobs somewhere, but yeah. So it's gas money. And but you were already in a skills based thing, because you were playing some kind of instrument, or what were you doing?
I was the bad lead singer and a worse guitarist, which is why I transferred into all the things I learned that weren't music. And there's a reason that I'm not a rock star.
But you did practice, or didn't you? Did you practice like the music thing also?
Of course, I think a lot of the reason why I'm comfortable on stage now, and why I'm comfortable with the live streaming that I do on Learn with Jason, and here is largely due to that experience. Because we would, I mean, first of all, we played a show 200 nights a year for 2 years. So it was constant touring, constant play. We did a video of each show, and they all sounded like the videos weren't for sharing, they were for reviewing. It was like watching the tape as an athlete. We would put a camera at the back of every venue and videotape the whole stage, and then we would watch it as a band, and we'd say, okay, you look like a doofus here. This was super awkward. This was great. You should do that more often. And we started to polish the act and learn, like, you know, we shouldn't try to do this sort of thing because it doesn't work for us. This actually went really well. We should do more of these. And it taught us how to not just perform the music better, but perform on stage better, how to be more confident, how to not ramble, I've never learned that one, but how to tell engaging stories, involve the crowd as opposed to talking at the crowd. All of that stuff has really transferred over, and was something that we actively worked on, you know. And on top of that, we also we would have daily practice sessions where we would work on the music we were playing. We'd write new songs and those sorts of things as well. It was a job. Like, we were very, very much like, we're going to make this work.
So we have a question then from the audience. Are there any audio files of this? You just said you videotaped everything. Is this
there are not any none of the videos went online because they didn't sound good. They were, like I said, they were meant for us to review for quality, like they weren't for sharing. But there is an album that you can find on Spotify. The band was called Minus My Thoughts. The most emo name of all time. And
this needs to be.
Yeah,
we are all Spotifying now.
No, I'm not. I'm going to try to share my screen. Share screen. All right. I'm sharing my screen. Here is the website.
But you have to transition.
Do you see that, guys? Do you see it?
No, I'll share it for you.
I'm doing something wrong then.
I'll do it. There you go.
No, that's not me. Yes, it is me. It is me. There you go.
You there?
Oh, wow. That website is... Are you on the Wayback Machine?
Yep.
Yes.
So this was one of my very first websites that I built. This is a Flash website.
Yeah. Yes, Flash.
Yeah.
And the reason that I learned Flash was because I needed to play our music, and I wanted to make sure that somebody couldn't just download it because we needed to sell albums, or again, we lived in Topeka. So we really needed a way to get stuff online. And so I was like, I can figure this out maybe. And so I really battled with ActionScript and tutorials online and trying to figure out how we could get an audio player, which, as you can see, like, none of this works anymore because the way back, we killed Flash, right? So so those things no longer exist. But yeah, there are many iterations of that website. I don't know how many of them survived, but you can also see the evolution of my design sensibilities, because I also designed this little trash fire.
If I push
I love it.
If I push 46 captures, I thought I was going to see the rest. Yes. Oh my God.
I seem to remember, Jason, I don't know if it was something you wrote or maybe something I've watched, where you talked about how you built your band websites and how that did actually eventually lead you into web development. Would you say that was a big cause of it? I mean, I know what you were saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's really a factor of being, so I had this goal for myself. I was going to go be a musician. And when we got close to the end, we were actually we were regionally popular. There were bands that have been on MTV that we would open shows for, and we were on lists at record labels that like Victory Records had us on a short list, and a few other bands or a few other labels like that. So the last tour that we were going on, we were planning on meeting with these record executives. But in conversations with some of the bands and in conversations with other people around the industry, we realized, one, we didn't really like our music anymore. When we started, we were all like 18, 19 years old. We were playing emo music and we hung out with 18, 19-year-old kids. When we were done, we were all 21, 22 years old, playing emo music, hanging out with 14-year-old kids. And it just it wasn't fun the way that it was when we started. At first, it felt like playing music for our peers. And as it progressed, we felt like we were playing all ages shows for kids that were getting younger and younger. Yeah, what's up?
But you had 2 years there also where you must have changed a little. Not only twice, but
Yeah, we definitely we were evolving as a band, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to be. And so first we were kind of realizing that this wasn't necessarily the band we wanted to be. And second, we also realized that record deals are not what we thought they were. We thought that a record deal was like, okay, you have a lot of promise. We see a bright future for you, kid. Here's a bunch of money and a record deal and we're going to go on tour. It turns out it's a little more like loan sharking. So if you get a record deal, you find a record label that's willing to give you a $100,000 loan. Using that $100,000 loan, you have to set up a tour, record an album, get the gear you need, and get out on the road. And if you don't sell enough records to make that money back, you're just in debt to a record label, which is why I don't know if anybody remembers the band Hawthorne Heights, but they were this huge emo act in the early 2000s that were everywhere. Like they were all over radio. They were top 40 for a little bit, tons of music videos. They had to declare bankruptcy because they couldn't sell enough albums to cover their expenses. And so they owed tons and tons of money to this record label. And, you can see it's like high risk, high reward, right? So like other bands, they go all out on spending that money on promotion and touring and things like that. And they sell enough records and then they become like reasonably well off as a result. But I used to think that anybody with a record deal was like a, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous kind of rock star. And it turns out that most of them are borderline broke because most of the money they make has to go right back to the record labels.
I feel like there's like, I want to say that like it's similar to like VC and startup. Like there are some similarities there as well, where it's like you think that the people who has some kind like they're a startup and they get the VC funding, that it's like that awesome lifestyle, and it's been getting out more and more that like for some people it's good, but for a lot of people that's not the lifestyle they're actually looking for, right? And that's why we're seeing people doing like creating their companies in other ways. Like for some people it's the right thing. Like you probably talked to bands that really like this kind of deal and they got a lot out of it. But for some people that's not the lifestyle they want. So you want to go a different route.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we, to bring this around to the original question, when we started asking these questions, we learned this stuff. We just had a hard conversation. We were like, you know what, this isn't for us. We're not going to do this. So a couple of the musicians in the band really wanted to make a go of it. So one of them's out in LA working as a producer. He's great. He's worked with acts you've probably heard of. Another one is a session drummer I guess he was in Colorado. He's now back in Montana. And a couple of them are like they got jobs and they're back in the hometown, like in their local musicians, and then here am I was like, you know what? I'm not very good at music. Maybe I should do the thing that I was good at, which was the promotion and the web design and the development. So for me, it was like, all right, one avenue is closed. We're choosing to close a door here. We're going to close this door of being rock stars. What other doors have I opened along the way that are worth going through? And this was the one that made the most sense.
But so
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, but I have one more question, and I started a timer, so it's.
I know. I was just saying we have it like Jason's an American, and I've learned that you're supposed to say like thank you for sharing that story with us and stuff like that. We can't be impolite European pirates. Or we Jason, can, but since I'm the queen, I'm trying to be polite. because. The question. So you changed, as a band, but as people too, because you mentioned in that blog post that it was about growing up and stuff. Yeah. What's the
mostly
question?
Stuff?
Yeah. So
and also, you have to remember the plug. He has to get to time for his plug.
Yeah. So, but
and also, I just want to say something. Sorry, I'm butting in, Ola, but for people who are new to the audience, Ola and I live together, so we're a couple. There was somebody who said from Brian here that you need to find this and then rework the lyrics to Jamstack topics. That would be like some emo, like a little bit of emo Jamstack tracks would be highly appreciated by the community.
So if you're are you familiar with Aisha Blake? Aisha she was on the Gatsby core team. She's working at New Relic now. She runs a conference out in Detroit. There's two of them. There's self-titled comp and title of comp. And I always get them crossed up, but one of them is for musical theater related to web dev. So
because all the talks have to be musical like theater.
Performance. I don't know if they're all musical, but they're all performance related. So it's basically a bunch of geeks getting together and like using all their skills that they don't typically apply in tech to be ridiculous. So it is absolutely, if you're into that sort of thing, I have been invited a lot. Chloe Condon, I think, is going to be there.
Yeah, of course.
Just a bunch of like former performers, current performers, I think are going to go be ridiculous at a tech themed like performance-based conference.
Well, there seems to be a lot of that in the DevRel community, especially with people coming to the profession from different backgrounds. Like Paul and I are the boring like university route.
Does anyone
That's
perform
why
with a spreadsheet? That's what I'm interested.
That's why if you can perform with a spreadsheet
based performance art.
that I would watch actually. But let's give Jason his plug time, Ola.
Plug.
Okay, I
no, go. Sorry,
I have a thing open, something that I'm really excited about here. I guess let me know when it's up on the screen.
There you go.
I removed it. Sorry.
We're fighting over the controls.
Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. All right.
Keep my hand up.
There's something that we've been working on for a while at Netlify that we're really, really excited about, which is this idea of taking deploy previews to the next level. So deploy previews are something that's been standard in Netlify for a long time. Whenever you push, when you have a PR on GitHub, we will build that version of the site at a dedicated URL so that you can immediately share it around for feedback and show people what it looks like and see whether or not you've got any regressions or issues. But we've always felt like there was a little bit of something missing. And so recently we launched what we're calling the next generation of deploy previews, which is the ability to provide feedback right in line in a deploy preview. So what you're able to do now is when you create a pull request, we give you the ability to invite reviewers, and then we show a drawer on the left-hand side where you can open this up and take screen recordings, you can do screenshots, you can annotate things, leave arrows, and you can draw on it to give feedback on the code. And when you do this, those get synced to GitHub, Clubhouse, which is the product management tool, not the chat tool. There's two companies with the same name.
I heard they sold their Twitter handle to the VC funded audio app for like lots, and then they kept clubhouse.io or something on Twitter. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the idea here is that we wanted to create a place for people to collaborate in the environment that they're reviewing the site, and then sync that feedback to the places where people are going to track it. So if you're a project manager, you're using, Clubhouse or Product Board or something like that. If you're a developer, you're using GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. And so we've only got a few integrations ready now, but we're looking to add a lot more where you can, work as a team in the place where the site is, and then send that feedback back to where you're going to track it. So as a developer, you don't have to do that work of, okay, I've got a deploy preview, I'm going to send this out for review. And then you get a few comments in GitHub, a few screenshots in Slack. For some reason, one of the product managers put together a Word doc. You get some emails about it, and then you have to triage all of that back into GitHub so that you can track the work. This does it for you. And when you give feedback, it lets you open it as a comment on the PR or as a new issue on that repo. So if you find something that's like broken, you open an issue. If you find something that's like, hey, let's tweak this before we merge, it goes as a comment. So anyways, this is something that I'm really, really excited about. And I think that is going to be really fun for a lot of folks. And Benedicta, you said that you're using this now, right?
Yeah, I didn't like use it consciously. I saw that you had tweeted about it, and then I had an actual pull request that I was looking at. And in that, I actually saw a bug because we had a little bit of an incomplete loop here from timeline to incomplete. And then that was the first time I saw the little drawer. It asked me to log in. I logged in, and then I could take a video of the screen. So you can see I then took the video of the screen, and then it actually grabs. It looks like the browser metadata. I can't say metadata. And I could then just like create, as you said, I just created the issues straight from that page. And I think that I really like that, because otherwise I would like fire up. I have like tons of things that I can like screen grab with and stuff like that, but I never really do. But since it was like right there and you could even see it in the video, I got to take that video and create the issue, which is, super helpful. So I enjoy that. I've actually been when you did that demo or that campaign where you could see like your Netlify number, I was like low number. I've been a Netlify user for years, but we're using Gatsby Cloud for this one though, right, Paul?
Yeah, correct.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so I found it super helpful.
But you didn't share this loop thing with me, did you?
No, well, it wasn't your bug, was it?
No.
It was Sarah's bug.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think I fixed it though, but anyway, who cares? This is my side project. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. That's what I wanted to say. And then
I'm really happy to see that we've seen some early feedback on it, and it's been positive. If you are a Netlify user and you use it, make sure you like tweet at us, tweet at Netlify, tweet at me, or anybody on the Netlify team, and just let us know how's it going for you. Are you using it? Are you sending it to your coworkers? Are you actually seeing feedback come in a little bit easier for you to manage? Because I feel like this is a big deal, and I'm just curious to see if everybody else agrees with me.
Yeah. And I think we can just keep on plugging because this workflow has not been run. Was that your cue that we were ending the break, Ola?
No.
That was
I'm
a celebration
celebrating
that we were going to keep plugging, I think.
Okay, yeah. So what do you have to plug today, Ola? I saw you making a little MVP up in your loft.
Okay, let's try to share my screen then. I can do it. There are so many screens to share here now. Which one is mine? I don't know. This.
Do you want me to?
That's mine. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see something pink?
Yes.
Yes. So some people. I talked to some people who have build time problems on their local builds, and this is lilylabs.no/build map. We're going to make a treasure map over where to find, the treasures to kind of speed up your builds. So, yeah. And there's a lot of text. You don't have to read all of it, But here, apply now. Just go straight there and click it, and then there will be some questions about your builds, and then I'll follow up with some. Questions, and then maybe I'll get Paul and Benedicta to take a look. To see if they can come up with some tips on what you can do with your own builds and speed them up. Yeah.
Yep. Good. You got to practice that elevator pitch.
Yes.
Yes. So how are we doing, Paul? Should I just continue plugging over here, or you? Yeah, I can see you're sweating.
I'm frantically watching this this workflow, and it's definitely been more than 15 minutes, and GitHub has done nothing.
But we were testing earlier today, and sometime it took like 24 minutes. So we're just gonna keep an eye out for it, or otherwise we're just gonna do this again next Friday.
Well, the good news is that because we added the little P tag, at some point we should see, when you visit nattermob.dev, you should see when it actually got rebuilt. I don't know what more to tell you. I mean, there's no errors. We know that code works, but we also know that, like they said, we sat there for about an hour earlier going, why is it working? And it just didn't. It just didn't re-trigger the build every 15 minutes. That's what it is.
I think I didn't do much like actual cron jobs, but I have heard that they are like best effort. Like they are not like on the second on the nose. It's like a best effort kind of.
GitHub does mention in the docs that like you shouldn't really be triggering a rebuild every 15 minutes. I appreciate we probably don't need to, but in the interest of the stream and entertainment, I was like, what a nice way to wrap it up when it actually was a rebuild, and now that's ruined. So there is no plan B, but it should work at some point, and we will change it so that it rebuilds less frequently. But who knows? Who knows what's going on over there?
Think about your plug though, Paul, and I'll do mine. That is the.
Well, I don't really have a plug as such because I haven't completed it, but just to sort of piggyback perhaps what you were saying, Ola, which is I'm experimenting at the moment with a new technique for conditional plugin injection, which uses React Lazy and React Suspense. So there will be a blog post from me about that. Basically, the long and short of it is by using an environment variable as a feature flag, you can completely disable a Gatsby source plugin and all of the GraphQL dependent components by lazy loading them. So if you were developing, let's say, the index page of your site, not the blog part of your site, and you wanted to clean the cache and run the build, you wouldn't have to let the source plugin go and fetch all of the data for the blog post because you're not working on that part of the site. So it's going to be called conditional plugins. I don't know when it's going to be ready. I'll probably just continue to plug it until it is.
I talked to somebody today who might need that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs it. It's a problem with static, right? It's a static build nightmare. And if it works, then I think it will be a good one.
But I think so too.
But
Okay, and then it's my plug. We're like fighting over the plugs here. So, as always, I plug my side project, POW, the Privacy First Menstrual Cycle Journal, that lets you take control over your cycle privately, and Facebook will not know what part of the cycle you're in. And for the dudes in the audience, there are things that are logged about you too in these apps, so you should care. That's it, but we're still waiting for the build.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You are allowed to leave, though, Jason, if you have somewhere else to be, because we are 4 past the hour. If you want to stay and banter, you're allowed to do that. And we're going to wait, I guess, another 5 to 10 minutes to see if this works. And if not, we're just going to call it a day.
I do need to go. I haven't had lunch yet today, so I'm going to go try to eat something. Whatever I eat, it will be a sandwich. So thank you all so much for having me today. It was really
thanks
fun.
for coming, Jason. Nice to see you.
It was great.
It was great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Take care, y'all. Have fun being pirates.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
So how long, chat, should we wait for this? And will you all leave now that Jason left?
You know what?
How?
I couldn't comment on YouTube, and then so I was commenting as Benedicta through StreamYard here, just so people, if you thought she was coming up with some weird comments, because I got logged out. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm still logged out.
How is the Git looking, Paul?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, no errors. I'm pretty sure, as I did this a few times in practice, if there is an issue with the YAML, if there is any syntax issues, GitHub will fail. And what I would expect to see on that workflow is an error, but we haven't, which makes me think that the format and everything's correct. It's just that maybe GitHub's a bit overloaded at the moment. And I don't know, maybe because we're asking it to run an action every 15 minutes, it's decided it doesn't want to. So yeah,
so
I don't know.
John has asked me a question, so I can talk a little bit. So how is Facebook able to find this data? So most of the apps that you find in the App Store are free to use, which should be a warning flag in itself. So a lot of those are connected to the Facebook ad service, and they will then send events from events that you log. They will send those into kind of the ad broker. It's like, I don't know exactly how this works, but like they send events from the app into Facebook so that Facebook can give back ads that they then show in their apps that will suit you better. And there has been, so Wall Street Journal did a big investigation on health apps, not menstrual apps in specific, but apps, health apps in general, and they found that a lot of them had like all kinds of trackers where they are sharing data with like ad brokerages, like these companies that decide what ads you see around the internet. And a journalist, I think from Australia, noticed that when she forgot to log her period, like a week after or so, she started getting ads for baby products and like mommy products. And then when she went into the app and remembered to log again, those ads stopped. And that's not been like scientifically proved, but I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happens. And for me personally, it was just the app that I use, which don't do this. They don't send anything to Facebook. But as a developer, I know that there are always some developers with access to the database. So, you know, even though they shouldn't be looking at the database, we all know that the developers at a company, if it's not end-to-end encrypted, could have access to that data. And being a developer myself, I was like, well, I wouldn't want to be able to look at this data for my friends. And if I'm making something for my friends, I want to make sure that I rule out human error. So it's all end-to-end encrypted. Yeah, that's my spiel on my product there. Bow for the people, for you, since you asked. If anybody else has any questions in the chat, please do. We can also YOLO a little bit and make our timestamp better while we wait locally, while we wait for the action to trigger.
Are you going to do some inline styles? Is that what you're angling at? Oh my God, hang on. Check the actions panel.
One
workflow running. That was well timed. Just to avoid you doing inline styles.
We have like nothing to talk about.
There it is. Okay, so this looks like it's doing something. It's worked. Woo, that's good. Woo. Jump over to Gatsby Cloud. That should have triggered a rebuild.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Jason didn't get to see this. Is it triggered? Is it triggered? Come on. Booyah. It's building.
Click on Nattermob.dev. We should see something saying it was triggered by Gatsby Cloud Webhook. That's good. Click on that and then show me the raw logs.
Don't you like write out the webhook in there? Who cares?
And we should see somewhere in the build where it will actually trigger the console log for the timestamp.
It's taking some time.
Well,
but we are getting there.
Celebrate!
Celebrate! Woo! Celebrate!
Okay, everybody.
We got the GitHub Actions.
Cheers!
To trigger. Is this when I accidentally press cancel build?
No.
Don't press anything. You might want to refresh. I'm seeing the logs. They're in there. It is there.
Okay.
Come on.
Oh, there's an error.
That's
that's the header.
Don't worry about that.
The logs are gone.
But
it's deploying.
Click on all logs and then back to raw logs. No, you're not getting the logs. I've got the logs. The timestamp is there. It should be 19:10:26.
And then it says deployed. Look at that.
Oh,
yes. We got the timestamp. And look at this, people. My little quote. Do I still have it up? Look at that. There, I had the little Nattermob.dev. There was a little quotation mark there. But since we now got it to be triggered a rebuild, we got the new data in, and it's gone. So I can start changing my titles to my heart's delight. And then we'll get it to rebuild at least twice a day so you can see all the lovely new titles.
Oh, I can't believe that worked. I'm so relieved.
You were like, I could see it, Paul. You were like, I could see like you were getting anxious.
Well,
you were getting super
I
anxious.
knew that it wasn't going to. I don't know. I mean, we saw it earlier. Like GitHub didn't run it every 15 minutes. I was hoping it would actually do it while we're still on stream, and it did, and that's good. And there's no errors, and it's fine, and everything works out. So yes, well done.
Yes,
good work.
well done.
Good work, team.
So this has been. You get to do the outro. I'm going to do the summary. So what did we do today? Let's go back to my beautiful artistic Canva. So we have told GitHub, or little OctoKitty here, to ask Gatsby Cloud to rebuild every time the alarm goes off. And we set the alarm to go off every 15 minutes. We'll change that after the stream to happen a little less frequently, because there's no need to use all those resources that we don't need, but at least twice a day, I think. So alarm goes off, and do that with the cron. What did you call it? Timestamp. Yeah, but what did you call the timestamp format or the time format for the cron jobs?
Oh, it's I think it's POSIX cron syntax.
Yeah, they got their own syntax. Right after the stream, I'll try to add a link to that in the description. But anyway, it goes off. Ask Gatsby Cloud to rebuild, and then Gatsby will then fetch all the data from YouTube. And if it has changed, it will rebuild the page that has changed, and then the index page, I guess.
We'll display the latest timestamp because we injected that a bit.
And then we injected the timestamp so that we know, in case I haven't changed anything, we could still see that it's actually running. So that has been today. You can have a look in the GitHub repo, what we have done. If you go to the code and to the commits, you will see that there is, and we also had to fix a little bug from last time for the specialist people who are especially interested. You can check out what that bug fix was. But this is today, and you can also check everything else we have done on stream so far. And before I give Ola the stage for the outro, I need to tell everyone to remember to subscribe to the channel and check in the description below for our newsletter so that you will be reminded of these streams 30 minutes before we go live. And also like and comment on this video tomorrow so that we get some YouTube search juice. That's all from me. And then Ola can do our outro.
I have a question first. So
okay.
I have the whereby thing here. Are we doing like a post party thing?
Chat, do you want to post party?
No, I'm asking you. Don't ask the chat.
Well, I always want to post party.
Okay, so what's the? It's lilylabs.whereby.com/.
I can make it now.
I have it ready. You make it. Okay, you make it. You put it. Okay then.
Well, I need to share it though before people, if they want to.
You must share it.
Yeah. So keep on talking about your myself, and we lose all our people.
Huh?
Sorry.
I will read my thing when you tell me.
Okay. I am now. Like, we should have planned this out. Like, we should have done this.
No.
No. This is like all crazy. Let's see. I am trying to make us a room. So people, we are just going to reuse the same. It's going to be the wrong date. So I'm going to share since we can't do any.
Okay, I'm going to say something then while you're sharing it. So Paul told me that there was something about my hair up here coming down here. And you know, my uncle, he used to be a missionary in what's it called?
I don't know if the story is suitable for live television.
There's this big river down in South America. What's it called? The Amazonas River. Yeah. So he was down there, missionary, and then they would fly in on these little airstrips to little villages. And then so he came out of the plane on this little airstrip, and the whole village was waiting there. And then they took one look at my uncle and they just ran into the jungle, and it didn't come back. And he was waiting the whole day, and he was like, "What's up?" And then these
Well, this is like, can we just cut the story there? Let's do the story in the after party.
Okay.
So
yeah,
if anybody wants to go to the after party, I shared the link, and it's May 7th because that's the last time we have an after party, and I can't make a new one. So if you want to hang out with us after the stream, go to that link, and then Ola will do the outro.
This has been another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Gatsby deep diving Queen Raae and her Nattermob pirates, Paul the Navigator, Ola Vea, and also Jason Lengstorf. He had to have lunch, so he's gone now. And see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Keep waving. Keep waving.
Waving.
Bye.